Hello, Jordan.
What's up, Michael?
My anger levels are high.
What happened?
18 out of 100. The highest they've been in years.
It's funny because it doesn't sound like that's high, but you're coming in aggressive as though it's super high. Like I would have put you at like a 90 with that level of aggression.
My baseline is 3. Your baseline is higher.
So what's going on? Why are you so angry?
I think I just manufactured some anger in my head to get my workout in, actually. Nothing is actually bothering me other than this fictitious story that I'm about to share with you.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right. So I don't know anyone who doesn't have a single vice. Like I don't know, even the best people I know have something, right? And we'll think of vices traditionally as things that bring you immediate pleasure. Okay? You could also interpret vices as something that gives you midterm pleasure, right? So leaning into pain, something like an ice bath, something like working out, something like skydiving or adrenaline-seeking behavior, things that are technically painful short-term but elevate dopamine for 3 to 5 hours thereafter. Traditional vices, though, are things that make you feel good immediately. Alcohol, drugs, sex, pornography, video games, social media, all of these things. Immediately dopaminergic things. Weed being a big one. People with having weed every single night to go to sleep, gummies every single night to go to sleep. I see, and no, again, no judgment, because I don't know a single person who doesn't have a vice. The best people I know have something, all right? No one's perfect. The amount of, are you sure that's a healthy relationship with exercise? Like, are you sure? And these aren't people who are 7 days a week, 3-hour workouts, can't miss a workout or it screws with their mental health. Like, I'm not talking about over the top. I don't want to throw names, but like David Goggins types of people. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about 4 days a week, 60, 75-minute lifts. It's your thing to make you feel good. You have people who are drinking daily, using marijuana daily, using all of these other vices on a high frequency basis, who are like, I don't think what you're doing with exercise is very smart. Do you really have to work out? Like, do you can't miss your workout? I don't know. It was driving me nuts.
Bro, you're preaching.
Driving me nuts.
Clip that. It's obnoxious.
I don't think it's clippable, but
it's a super clippable clip.
I don't think it's clippable.
Absolutely. Are you kidding me?
We should clip you saying that.
No. Listen, man. These fuckers, they need to get out of here with that. I'm getting angry. I'm getting angry now. Get out of here. You're worried about my salad and me asking for the dressing on the side, olive oil on the side. You're worried about that? You should be worried about you ate the entire thing of chips and ordered 2 margaritas.
And had 4 weed gummies because you haven't slept without them in 6 years.
And you haven't worked out. You don't work out. You just talk about how you don't have the motivation. You're worried about my getting dressing on the side?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Get out of here. You're worried about the fact that, oh, guess what? Maybe I only had 20 minutes to work out this morning because I had work obligations, so I only benched, and I'm going to go back later to hit the back and the biceps and whatever else I'm going to hit. Great.
Shoulders?
That's what I'm going to do. Maybe some lateral raises, who knows? I might make it a full second workout. What are you going to do about it? Just keep slamming the bottle?
Judging me? We're not even judging them. Like, we're not like the one initiating me. Like, hey, I think you are drinking alcohol. Hey, I think you're doing this. They're the one who initiate the judgment, and then it's like, oh wow, you're coming at me. I wasn't saying anything. I was just
minding
enjoying
my own
this
business,
time together,
staying in my lane.
Yeah.
If that ain't
the
pot calling the kettle black, I don't know what is.
Man.
Yeah. And no one even said anything. I just made up this story driving home from the gym.
Now I'm mad, and you said it.
Good.
Man.
Let's use this anger. Anger is, and always has been, albeit unhealthy, the best form of gasoline for the human body to
be productive,
to either grow business or lift weights.
Yeah. I mean, that's why people like like intense music. I think often intense music will create some form of, obviously depends on the genre, but like usually when you're working hard and you want to like get bumping in the gym, like you're listening to something that pumps you up, it often will create some form of anger or I don't know, resentment or just like, fuck them, I've got a chip on my shoulder type thing. Like that's often where that comes from. It's another way of manufacturing the anger.
Mm-hmm. I used to have that to such an insane degree. I was going to send you this screenshot, but I'll just share it now because I forgot to. I was reading through, I wanted to dig up, I've kept like an ongoing Word document over the course of, since I was a freshman in college, basically, of like just random thoughts, and I date and time them. Yeah, you could call it a journal. I wouldn't call it a journal. It's just, sometimes there's lists, sometimes it doesn't take on any kind of true form, but I wanted to scroll to a specific period of time to see what my mindset was at that time.
Smart.
And I'm like, I'm not going to get lost in this thing because it's very long, but I opened it, started scrolling, and landed on a random entry from 2008.
Oh my gosh.
Nowhere near the time frame I was going for, but I was in college, and it was basically I was riding in the car with this friend, kind of colleague from college who
you didn't really like him.
He was he's a good dude.
There.
He was just there. He's a good guy. But basically, he said something to the effect of, I got this amazing new ab workout. And it's so funny. I just jade so hard. I said, well,
no.
I said, it's impossible. 2008. It's impossible for it to be better than P90X ab ripper, but go ahead, was my response.
Just so you know, it's physically impossible for it to be better than ab ripper.
which I don't agree with on like a technical, obviously at this point in my life and career, but his response was, yeah, but it's actually realistic. And where I was at that time, I was like, I never want to be like this. Like being realistic is the worst thing ever. I'm going to use this to push myself even harder. Like I'm going to use it was very, what you and I were both experiencing in college, which was significant amount of chip on shoulder, motivating all action and behavior.
Realistic? Are you stupid? What kind of a defeatist mindset is
yes.
That is disgusting.
Yes.
I'm gonna jump out of this car. I'm fucking sick of this conversation already. Realistic? Fucking get out of here. Yeah.
Which, from the perspective of, not to be cliche, but like achieving greatness in any endeavor, is the proper mindset. Now, from the perspective of being healthy, and through everything I've learned since then, almost 20 years, largely through coaching people over the course of that time, I actually have the opposite mindset, which is for the overwhelming majority of people, I do want you to do what's realistic because I want you to be consistent because that's going to get you the best results. But it was funny because I didn't remember just how intense my mindset was at that time around hard work is the answer.
Man, I think being young is the time to be unrealistic, though. Like, that's the best time. I think, I don't know, from birth until, I'm going to just say an age, and obviously this is an arbitrary number, but we'll say like birth until 28 is like a really great time to be very unrealistic with your methodologies, with your thought processes, with like, just be super unrealistic, do crazy shit and just go all in on it. And obviously arbitrary numbers, someone's like, well, I'm 29. It's, okay, fine, whatever. But I'm saying birth to 28 is like the best time of your life to actually be unrealistic. Because soon after that, You've got to start getting your shit together.
It's being realistic is, being unrealistic is almost the inverse of having responsibility, right? The more responsibility you take on, the more that it's hard for you to be unrealistic with your own personal pursuits because you have people relying on you.
That's great. And then that leads into you having more responsibility gives the people who you have responsibility for, it gives them the space to be unrealistic. So like if you're a parent, you hold that space for your children to be unrealistic. That's, I like that a lot.
Yeah. To dream,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, I love that.
What, you still do a pretty good job of balancing, using anger as motivation for work with not letting that anger bleed into other areas of your life. Or as the great bodybuilder Tom Platz once said, you essentially bodybuilding was his career, so we could think of it like building a business. But when he's in the gym, he wanted to kill everybody. And that's his quote. And then the second he walked in the door, you had to become a different person. Walked in to your house. It's, hi, honey, how was your day? Like, what can I do? Can I help?
Yes.
And really being able to turn those two distinct people on and off like a light switch in a moment is a very valuable skill.
Bro, the number of it's so funny. I can go from full on raging debate on Instagram and put my phone down, and within literally the time it takes me to hit send to when I'm picking up my daughter, like milliseconds, I can go from raging, like angry debate to I thank God every day for you, sweetheart. I love you so much. And just like putting her on my shoulders, running around the house, like in milliseconds, and complete shift. And neither of the people on either end of the receiving end would know that I was just the complete opposite way milliseconds later. My daughter won't know that I was just in a raging debate. The person who's in a raging debate has no idea that I'm like laughing and enjoying time, like, and just completely giddy with my daughter. It is actually pretty wild. And I can see it also goes to show that whenever you're seeing someone on social media, you're really only just seeing often a manufactured image of who they are, or just an image of who they are in that moment, which could be completely different from who they are when they're with people they love or with people who are in person. It's a completely different, you only see one thing on social media at that one point in time.
Yeah, that's a great point. Let me ask you this. Do you think that's a skill that you developed / do you think that you are flipping the light switch on your own, or do you think part of the immediate mood shift is how your daughters make you feel?
I think it's a little bit of everything. So I know, like, I think I've been very fortunate in terms of having more perspective than I think our generation will have more perspective than previous generations. And what I mean by that is we now have access to so many different thoughts and people giving their honest reviews and ideas on what their life was like and their regrets. Before, Gary would always say, go to a nursing home and talk to old people and they'll tell you what their regrets are. Now you don't even need to do that. Like, you can actually hear people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s talking on social media about what they regretted, what life, like what they wish they did as a parent. So I've seen so many amazing messages and I've heard so many amazing analogies in terms of one of the greatest things I've heard from a parenting perspective is there will be a time when I wish I could go back and like my house will be quiet and everything will be calm, and I'll wish I could go back even for 10 minutes and have it be insanely chaotic and loud and difficult. And I've seen and absorbed so many of these messages that it is always top of mind for me. So it's easier for me to make that shift because of the messaging that I've heard. I also think it is part of just my DNA and who I am, but I also I think that it's more about being consciously aware of what I want to be and the impact I want to have in that moment. It's I think being able to do it is, everyone has the skill. I think some people are innately better at it than others. I think I'm innately better at sort of shifting and shape shifting in the moment. But I also think that the perspectives that I've heard and that I've learned through other people help me make it a better habit, an easier habit to accomplish.
That makes sense. It might come a little bit more naturally to you than most, but through the effort you've put in over the years that has been driven by the perspective that you've gained from what you've consumed, and I don't know, we'll just call it thinking about perspective and life and how you want to be, you've improved at that skill.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Probably part of it too is maturity, in that you don't get as angry as you once did. Or I could be wrong.
I don't know. I think
Really?
I get really fucking angry. So like, I can still get really angry. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to like now think of it in terms of levels. Like here's what I think. When I think of anger, I'm thinking of heart beating loudly. Like I can hear my heart beating in my chest. Here's what I think. I think I get just as angry, but I'm better at managing my anger. I'm better at being objective and sort of looking at it from above and putting it into the greater scheme of things. I think I am more empathetic. I have a better idea of that someone else is on the other side, and like they have a life, and thinking about it rather just in terms of what they said and how it impacted me, also potentially thinking about their intent. It's more of a spider web now that I have a greater view of from above. Whereas before it was only, how is this impacting me and how is it affecting me? And I'm angry about this and they don't understand. It's just me. Now it's a little bit more of a global thing. So I think I can get just as angry, but I'm much better at managing it and putting things into perspective.
Good for you. That what you just described is what I hear a lot of people who get into meditation develop and improve via the process of consistent meditation. But I know that you don't do any of that.
I don't meditate.
But you clearly have your
bad
own
experiences with meditation.
Is that
not good? I could tell it if you want. I know I could tell. Like basically, my dad, ironically, was very into meditation. And when I say very into, I mean like he would pay a lot of money to go to these meditation courses, and he tried to get my whole family involved in it. And he took us to this meditation place, like
a conference or like a class?
No, not a conference. Like it was literally the guy's name was Maharishi. I don't know. It was like it was a fucking thing. It was in the middle of nowhere. It was in Maine. It was like this big mansion building, and it was a whole experience. And he brought us there to meet. Oh man, I probably like third grade, fourth grade. And he would bring my brother and I consistently, I don't know, a couple times a year, and it would just be an afternoon thing. But we would go and we would try and practice meditation, and I enjoyed that part of it. But then when we came home, my dad had real anger issues. And so there there would be times where like I was supposed to be meditating in my room, and like it was forced meditation, which in and of itself I think is against the concept
Principles.
of meditation. Like we would be like, now you go and you meditate and you go in there, and like I wasn't allowed to come out to use the bathroom. And like there was one time where like I really had to use the bathroom, and like the fury that was expelled from this man when I had to use the bathroom it was just insane. And then there was another time, you love the story, when
it's so ironic. It's so the opposite. It's the opposite of what meditation should do for you.
So we have a 3-story house, which is very common in the Northeast. Basement, first floor, second floor. and my dad's office was in the basement, and I didn't even know he was meditating. I had no idea. So he was downstairs, and I was a young kid. I was like probably 4th grade, 5th grade. And, you know, kids just, they run around, stomp on the ground, make noise. I had been playing with Lincoln logs, and they were all over the ground. And my mom was like, hey, could you pick up the Lincoln logs? And so instead of just like a normal adult, just picking up one Lincoln log at a time, I'm somersaulting on the ground from one Lincoln log to the next, just like rolling and jumping and just doing all this stuff like a normal kid. And then I hear his office door slam, and like my butt, dude, my butthole like immediately started shaking. I was like, oh, I know what that means. I hear him boom, 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 like stomping up the steps, and the fury that I was like, the yelling, and he was throwing pillows at me, just like absolutely freaking out, angry. He's like, I was meditating, and in the moment I was really scared. I was really young, whatever. And like you and I have spoken about, it's like, I think meditation is supposed to make you more calm.
I was meditating. Like that's
just I have to see the comedy in it at this point in my life. As
a kid, first of all, I think it's very, very common for kids, for boys especially, to fear their fathers. And then on top of that, you know, if he was more aggressive than average, yelling more than average, scarier than average, we'll just call it, allegedly. And because I wasn't there, but you know,
allegedly.
For him to be, or for anyone, we'll say, to be meditating and then to come out of it in a rage because of like noise being made and screaming, I was meditating. It's
so funny. It's like a movie. It's like a movie character. Like you'd see that in a Ben Stiller movie, and you just lose it laughing.
Yeah. Which not funny at all while you're going through it, but
no, but you have to find the humor in dark things. I don't know. You don't have to, but that I think it's helpful to find humor in dark things because you know,
especially. And what's funny is the people who have actually experienced the dark things generally like that specific type of humor if it's about the thing they've been through. Whereas the people who are clutching their pearls are generally in a position where they've never experienced anything like that. And like, how dare you joke about that? Whereas the people who actually went through it. Yeah.
Who's this famous? Was it her name? Joan Rivers. Joan Rivers. One second. I'm going to make sure this. Yeah. Joan Rivers. All right. Joan Rivers. One of the greatest comedians of all time. She passed within the last 10 years or so. I think she's one of the greatest, not just comedians, but she was like, I think one of the first, if not the first, great women comedians. And she has set the stage for more women to really become very well known and to inspire other women to be stand-up comics. And she was making jokes. It's a very famous bit of one of her specials. She was making jokes, huge crowd. If you haven't watched her, she's fucking hilarious. She was making jokes about deaf people, like dark jokes about deaf people. And this is a while into her bit. And this guy in the front row gets up and he's like, fuck you. Like something like my mom is deaf or someone in my family is deaf, and like got really mad. And she was like, and she lost it. She was like, fuck you. She's like, you've been sitting here this whole time laughing at other people, but now that it's something related to you, you're going to get up. And she goes, my son is deaf. And it's something where because she's gone through it, her way of dealing with it is through creating humor and it's another way of understanding that different people deal with trauma differently. But it is very interesting. I'll never forget watching that scene for the first time and her just being like, my son is deaf. This is how I deal with it. Like we make jokes about it. You're at a comedy show. It's supposed to be making jokes. Like no one is safe. I just thought it was really good and a huge respect to Joan Rivers.
Yeah. That exemplifies it perfectly.
She is a no bullshit, hilarious. I think she's one of the greatest comedians of all time, and I think she's the greatest female stand-up comedian of all time, without question.
Dude, so my Twitter is officially gone and may never come back. And I know this ebbs and flows. We were talking about vices earlier, right? I'll probably be back at some point. I don't know. But I opened Twitter the other day, and the first thing I saw was this dude die.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I deleted Twitter after seeing that.
We've become desensitized to seeing horrific things on social media.
Or at least we can. I don't know that I have, because if you're desensitized.
Maybe not we've become almost normalized to it, though. It's like I see videos like that. I see accounts that will advertise their account in the comments of like big accounts. Like they'll be like, hey, I post gruesome death videos, or I post like crazy. It's their entire accounts, and they have millions and millions of followers and like insane engagement. It's crazy.
Yeah, I haven't thought enough about this, but there's clearly something inside of us that, or maybe inside some people, that is attracted to that, or I don't know.
I mean, I think we're all interested or intrigued by death in some capacity, and like to watch it unfold is, I mean, I think about it like a car accident. You know, you're on the highway and there's a car accident on the other side of the highway, and there's no reason for your side of the highway to be backed up, but people are just slowly going by to try and get a glimpse of the carnage. It's very odd, but I think it's innate within us to sort of want to see what happened, like what caused it. I mean, these crime stories, these crime podcasts where you hear about these crazy deaths and mysteries, people are drawn to it. And I think death in and of itself is mysterious, and we don't know, and we don't have all the answers. And it's one of the only things in life that like we all go through, but we don't understand what's going to happen. And so it's
yes, I still think there's a difference between meditating on the concept and seeing it happen violently and like, or maybe it's individual. Maybe some people are so desensitized they can watch that and have no ill effects on their soul, whereas I don't know. I almost think about it in terms of like levels of energy or levels of consciousness, where there's different scales, and this is very pseudoscience, not real, but not real physical science, but there's level. I should almost look at it to get the chart, but when you're in a certain place, when you're in like a low place, maybe seeing something very intense elicits an emotion that actually lifts you up. Whereas if you're in a higher place, it brings you down. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the Roman Colosseum and how thousands of people would go and not only deliberately watch, but like gleefully watch as people were killed, and just they would happily go into a stadium and to watch people die, and in gruesome ways. And I think, yeah, it's
so
pretty crazy.
Do you think that says something about that group of people at that time, or do you think that says something about all people?
Both. I mean, it's a huge part of Roman culture. It was a huge part of Roman culture, and it was seen as an amazing celebration, and people would get really excited about it. But I think we can see that in many different ways throughout history, whether it was the Roman Colosseum or different fighting pits or whatever it is. I think it's human nature. I really do, and not saying everyone enjoys seeing that stuff, but I do think that it's human nature for people to be at the very least interested in it enough to watch it or want to learn more about it. I think it's very normal.
I wonder what percentage of the Roman population enjoyed watching that.
I wonder that as well.
Because clearly some people do.
I also wonder, to go to your point of, I wonder if it was like the people who were very poor and underprivileged, if they were more likely to enjoy it, and if the people who were higher up and they had more money and more wealth and more happiness and more knowledge and more education, I wonder if they were less likely to enjoy it. I would imagine it probably went that way. If, to my knowledge, the majority of the stadium was filled with the very poor. Like I believe the emperor funded the entire thing, so people didn't have to pay. They could go. Oftentimes, food was available for them, and so like they would go, and watching someone else die maybe elevated their mood. But for the philosophers and the educated, knowing a little bit more about the pain and what was going on with these fighters and the slaves and these people who were losing their lives, I would imagine that they probably didn't enjoy it nearly as much.
Yeah, there's a quote about how to prevent revolt along the lines of give the mob bread and circus and they'll be entertained, like, and they won't revolt. Even though they have the numbers, they won't, because we'll keep them at bay.
That makes total sense. It's a very powerful quote.
Yeah. But Jordan, I need you to hold me accountable on Twitter here. We'll see how long it takes.
I can't do that.
You can. I'm going to send you a daily accountability email.
You can do that. Email? You know I'm not going to see that. I'm going to send you an email.
Yeah.
Bro, you know what's crazy?
What?
I have been feeling like when I sleep really well, like when I'm getting 8 hours a night and I'm sleeping really well, really high quality, obviously I feel good and I'm very relaxed and I'm in a more content mood. And I actually feel like I'm less productive. Whereas when I sleep less and I'm more tired and I'm more stressed, I actually feel I'm more productive.
Interesting.
At least in the short term. I'm sure, I would imagine long term it would probably play out the opposite way. But my daughter is just over 2 weeks old now and sleeping very little, staying up very late, getting 4 to 5 hours of sleep oftentimes. And I get up and it's go, 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 go. And like, I've got to get stuff done. Whereas like when I sleep really well and I wake up and it's a slow start to the day, I'm like, it's a little bit more, I'm more relaxed. I'm more content. It's like, okay, maybe I don't need to go as hard today. It's very interesting. I just thought about that this morning.
Keep us updated on that. Maybe the momentum associated. Well, just meaning how long that lasts.
Maybe the financial aspect of having another kid has got you really going.
I've heard people argue from their personal experience that too much sleep has a negative effect on them in the short term.
From a productivity perspective?
Yeah, I think productivity, mood, almost excess sleep makes them lethargic.
For me, I feel like it's more just like contentment. Like when I'm really content with everything, I'm like, it's okay. I don't need to do that.
Is that a bad thing?
No, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a bad thing if you want to grow your business.
Yeah.
Contentment and desire to grow a business do not really go well together.
I completely agree with that. And you want to continue growing your businesses.
Yes, of course. Especially the mentorship, which, by the way, if you are not in the online fitness business mentorship.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
You've been listening to this podcast for weeks, months, maybe years, and you haven't signed up yet?
Yeah. We have weekly Q&As. Get in there every single week. We answer your questions.
Monthly challenges, 13 courses.
Everything you need to build an online fitness business to help people all over the world, help support you and your family.
I love the community has become, from my perspective at least, even more tight-knit since, was it January of this year? We upped the Q&A frequency, so it's every single week. We got everyone in there on Zooms. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's that they're super vulnerable and they post like the truth about what's going on. It's not people flexing and making shit up. It's like when people are going through a hard time, they'll talk about it. When they're going through a good time, they'll talk about it. It's not just questions about building businesses, although there are a lot of questions about building your business and social media and sales and all that, but a lot of specific questions about things that clients are struggling with. Something like, hey, my client is struggling with this aspect. My client is struggling with that aspect, whether it's food, nutrition, mobility, strength, programming, whatever it is. Like I don't think there's anything like this. I think most, if not all other business programs are basically solely focused on business, which is fine. This is the only one that I know of that also has a major, probably the largest focus on how to actually be a really, really, really good coach, program design, basic psychology, and understand
client
understanding
communication.
how to client communication, structuring conversations. It's so you can apply if you'd like, and the link to apply is in the show notes.
That's right. Which ironically is the best way to build your business in the long run, is to be a great coach and give great service to your clients.
Yeah. I mean, people often, I would imagine people like, how does Mike not make content for over 5 years and still have such an amazing business? It's because it's number one, obviously SEO, and people continue to find your work that you made years ago because you deliberately made content, long form content, with the intent to have people finding it forever. And also you're a great coach and you consistently get referrals, and you have a long-standing list of clients who continue to work with you for years and years and years because you have a great service. And so I think for most people who are coaches who don't want to be concerned with making content forever and don't want to always be on social media, I feel like you're the pinnacle of that. And it's amazing that you can literally not be online, not on social media, and still have an insanely successful online coaching business solely because you're a great coach. I think that's what probably every really good coach wants.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. And that is, we've talked about this a little bit in the mentorship. I don't know how much on the podcast, but it's such an underrated form of maintaining your business, which is focused on lower churn rates, right? Providing a great service so people want to work with you for years at a time rather than weeks or months at a time. Then you're not always trying to get new clients. When you have clients who want to work with you for the long term, it's a lot easier, and it requires a lot less effort on the marketing side, aka organic reach on social media.
Bingo.
Okay. Dude, I saw this. We talked a lot about testosterone last week, so we don't have to go deep on this, but I had a client send me his blood work, and I had not seen the reference ranges broken out like this before. And I don't know if this varies from clinic to clinic or office to office, or if it varies from state to state, perhaps country to country, but this has it broken out, the reference range broken out by age, which I thought was interesting, because usually what I'm used to seeing is just 300 to 800. Used to be like, I think it used to be 300 to 1,000, or 300 to 900, and then 300 to 800. I've seen some 250 to 800, but this was broken out. Males 18 to 30, 259 to 816. Males 31 to 44, 198.
Oh my gosh.
To 697.
Where does this person live? What state?
Arizona.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I hadn't seen that. It matches the trend of reference range going down over time, which is probably just looking at population data and being like, okay, average rates are X. And so the reference range comes down as average population rates go down. But that really shouldn't be the driver of the reference range.
Is the reference range based on population, or is it based on what they believe is optimal for health?
Well, it can't be, because then why would it go down so much over a 30-year window?
Yeah, I have no idea. That doesn't make sense to me.
Part of it has to be the fact that total levels are just getting lower.
Which is a fact, like very clearly. We've seen testosterone dropping significantly over the last 30 years.
Yeah. And not a good thing either. But anyway, I thought that was interesting.
That is very interesting.
Want to fire up questions?
Benefits to heel raise squats.
Quads.
Yep. They help with your quad. They definitely target your quads more. They can help with knee health, taking your knees through a bigger range of motion, assuming you're not loading it too heavy. They can be, here's where I actually don't like them. I see a lot of people do heel elevated squats when someone doesn't have the mobility to do a regular squat. And so they just, all right, well, we're only going to do heel elevated. And it infuriates me, because it's like, well, how about we get them to learn, and to be able to move properly so that they can do a squat with their heels on the ground. Don't just give them you're essentially giving them a regression and sticking with the regression forever. The ultimate would be, let's get them to actually have good enough ankle mobility, thoracic mobility, hip mobility to where they can squat deep enough with their heels on the ground. So it can be a good substitute or regression in the meantime, but it doesn't mean you should always stick with that variation if you don't have the mobility to squat deep with your heels on the ground.
And some of those people have the mobility, they just have too much ego. So they might not have the mobility with 315 on their back, but if they had 185 on their back, they would be able to squat to proper depth with their feet flat on the ground without their heels elevated. It's just that at that higher weight, they can't achieve that range with their feet flat on the ground.
Bro, I know this isn't a question, but I'm so excited that I got a reverse hyper.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, you got the Scout?
I got the Scout. So I texted Tom Barry at Westside. He essentially took over Westside Barbell after Louis passed. Tom and I started training at Westside on the same day in 2011. And his story is crazy. Like, he was a professor at a university in Ireland, and he got the opportunity to intern at Westside, sold everything, quit his job, and moved from Waterford to Columbus, Ohio, with nothing. He got a bicycle. He was riding his bicycle on the highway to get to Westside. On the highway to
that's a success story right there.
Yeah, and like, when people are from Ireland or Scotland and they've got a really strong accent, like, you can't understand a fucking word they're saying. Like, it's true. Like, if they have a really strong Irish or Scottish accent, it's really difficult. And there are different Irish and Scottish, definitely different Irish accents. Like, Waterford is a different one than.
I feel like I can understand pretty well.
I'm sure you could. Yeah, I'm pretty good at it too. It was really hard for the first 2 weeks with Tom. For the first 2 weeks with Tom, it was so hard. And Louis had no idea what he was saying. Jordan, what do you say? What'd Tom say? Like, you couldn't fucking understand what Tom was saying. And Louis just, like, he didn't give a shit. He was, Jordan, what'd Tom say?
That's amazing.
And right in front of Tom. Like, what'd he say? I couldn't understand it. So Tom, like, took over Westside after Louis passed, and I texted Tom. I was like, hey, how do you like the Scout? Because the Scout it's like 86 pounds, and it's foldable, and it takes up a relatively small amount of space. So, like, as a reverse hyper, you get worried it's going to be wobbly, falling all over the place. I asked him, and he was like, this is the main one we use at this point, which is crazy because the other ones are like $1,200. They're huge. They're super sturdy. They're amazing. And he's like, we actually prefer these right now. So I've wanted a reverse hyper since I trained at Westside, however many years ago that was, like 11 years ago now. So I'm so excited.
How much was this one?
It was like, it was 300 something or 400 something.
Wow.
No, with shipping, it was $400.
That's a great deal.
It was, I think it was like under $400 for the equipment. And then, like, with shipping, it was like $450 or something.
Great deal.
Yeah. Super good deal.
All right. We're going to wrap it up there. We're jumping on this Q&A. Thank you very much for listening. We're back next week. We appreciate you. 5-star reviews, much appreciated. If you have 45 seconds at any point today to leave a 5-star review.
Right now.
That would be incredible. Well, that would be amazing. I'm not picky, though. If you want to put it on your to-do list and do it later today, Jordan and we have faith you're going to knock out your to-do list today. So either one, if you have time. If you don't have 45 seconds today, that's cool. We still love you. We appreciate you. Have a great, great day. See you next week.
See ya.
Let's go.